Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to Congregation on HaYam, whether you're joining us live in our sanctuary or whether you are joining us via our live stream. We're so thrilled to be together, particularly since this is a special Shabbat for us. We are celebrating Jerusalem Shabbat. Last night at sundown through sundown this evening was a Israeli holiday of Yom Yerushalayim, Jerusalem Day. It actually celebrates the time of the Six-Day War in 1967, when for the first time in so many years, the old city of Jerusalem was reunited with the new city. The old city had been in the hands of the Jordanians since the armistice was drawn at the conclusion of the War of Independence. And the old city, which was in Jordanian hands, is where all the major holy sites of our people are located, including the western wall of the Temple Mount. So it was with great joy, and many of us who are alive might remember watching on TV as Jerusalem was liberated and the soldiers came through. And even these secular soldiers, hard-trained soldiers, liberated the wall and cried. 2,000 years of tears. So we're proud to celebrate Jerusalem tonight, not just to remember and recall a specific moment, but because Jerusalem is so much more. Jerusalem is history and theology and our story and our home, and our center. It is all of these things and more, and has been since biblical times. I know, and you might be aware, that in Israel, Yom Yerushalayim, there's a little contentiousness about what it should mean, what it should celebrate, who gets to celebrate and how. We're not here today to enter into Israeli discussions. It is certainly legitimate for American Jews to be informed about Israel for sure, and Israelis have robust discussions, but we're not having them on Yom Yerushalayim. Yom Yerushalayim is a holiday to celebrate what Jerusalem has meant to us, and that's what we're going to do. And we're going to take on a journey this evening through what Jerusalem has meant from biblical times to today. So we're not using our regular Siddur at all. We're actually just going to be using a handout that says Jerusalem Shabbat Celebration and Service. We did not have this available for you at home online, but please pay close attention so that you can enjoy and find hopefully what is not only a celebratory service, but also a meaningful one. So we're going to begin this evening by first reading the words of Zechariah and the prophet of Second Temple times, or actually of when the first temple was being rebuilt. And I'm going to first begin by chanting in the Hebrew, and then we'll continue with the English. We're on page 1 of the handout. Ko Amar Adonai Shavti El Tzion V'shachanti B'toch Yerushalayim V'nikra Yerushalayim Ir HaEmet V'har Adonai Tzevaot Har HaKodesh. Ko Amar Adonai Tzevaot Od Yeshvu Zikenim Uzkenot Birchovot Yerushalayim Ve'ish Mishanto Biyado Merov Yamim Urchovot Ha'ir Yimalu Yeladim Viladot Misachakim Birchovoteha. Ko Amar Adonai Tzevaot Ki Yipaleh Be'enei she'erit ha'am hazeh bayamim ha'hem gam be'enai yipaleh ne'um Adonai tzevaot Ko amar Adonai tzevaot Hineni Moshiach et ami me'eretz mizrach ume'eretz mevo hashamesh veheveti otam v'shachanu betoch Yerushalayim v'hayu le'la'am va'ani Ehyeh lahem le'Elohim be'emet u'v'tzedakah. And let's hear those words of Zechariah, of the prophet Zechariah in the English, and we're going to read responsively page 1, and I'll be leading. Thus says God, I have returned to Zion, and I will dwell in Jerusalem. Thus says Adonai, there shall yet be old men and old women in the squares of Jerusalem, each with staff in hand because of their age. And I will bring my people to dwell in the midst of Jerusalem. What a beautiful passage. And it has come true. If you have ever been on a Saturday night when Shabbat ends in Jerusalem and go to Kikar Tzion or just walk around, you will see it hustling and bustling with people of old age, of all ages, in the squares of Jerusalem. And it is also important to note that it starts out by saying that God dwells in Jerusalem. And anyone who has been to Jerusalem, it feels different from other major cities or world capitals. It has its own soul. It feels very spiritual, at least to me. I would not think of going on a trip to Israel that didn't have a Jerusalem on its itinerary, as beautiful as the rest of Israel may be. In any event, that hope for return of both that Zechariah announces and believes in has come true, but it also was a dream of the Zionists and the proto-Zionists of the 19th century. Im tirtzu ein zo agada. If you will it, it is no dream. Does anybody remember who said that? It was Herzl. Theodor Herzl said, if you will it, if you work for it, if you want it, you can make it happen. And of course, Debbie Friedman took those words of Herzl and wedded them to the words, Liyot am chafshi be'artzenu be'eretz Sion v'Yerushalayim. Anybody know where those words are from? From HaTikva. So she has wedded Theodor Herzl's vision with the words of HaTikva, which are 19th century words from the poem Tikvatenu from Naphtali Herz Imber, and put together by Samuel Cohn into music. We're going to sing that song now, Im tirtzu. Im tirtzu, ein zo agada, ein zo agada, yada-da-da-da, le'yotam chofshi be'artzeinu, be'eretz, eretz, Zion, Zion, Yerushalayim, tirtzu, ein zo agada, ein zo agada, yada-da-da-da, le'yotam chofshi be'artzeinu, be'eretz, eretz, Zion, Zion v'Yerushalayim Tirtzu Ein Tirtzu Ein Zo Agada Ein Zo Agada Yada da 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 Le'otam Chavshi Be'artzeinu Be'eretz Zion Yerushalayim. Lovely melody from Debbie Friedman, Zecher Tzadeket Livracha. We're going to continue, and we're on page 2, and we're going to read together the words of Psalm 137. And please join me. If I forget you, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget itself. Let my tongue cleave to my palate, if I do not remember her, if I do not raise Jerusalem above my greatest joy. And we Jews have remembered Jerusalem. Can anyone think of one way that Jews have continued to remember Jerusalem since biblical times? The Kotel has stood as a reminder to all Jews. Whether you visited there or not, you know that there's a Western Wall in Jerusalem that is so much more than a wall, right? A Yad Vashem. But I'm not asking about sites in Jerusalem. How have we remembered Jerusalem over the years? We'll get to sites in a minute. Mark? Thank you. Yes, at the end of Passover every year, the end of the Seder is L'Shana Ha'Ba'ah B'Yerushalayim. We actually say those words at the end of one other holiday. Does anybody remember what other holiday? It's a big one. Yom Kippur. At the end of the final shofar blast, after fasting for 25 and a half hours, the final shofar blast, people traditionally also say L'Shana Ha'Ba'ah B'Yerushalayim. So that's one way we remember them is it is at the end of two of our major events, a Passover Seder and the day of Yom Kippur. Anybody else know of a way we remember Jerusalem? Well, we recall Jerusalem in our prayers every single day. For those who daven daily, if you do an Amida every day, it actually talks about returning to Jerusalem. Hamachazir Shechinato L'Yerushalayim. That we hope that God's presence returns, and with it, all of us too. And there have been other ways we've done that as well. Some people suggest that when we break a glass at a wedding, that the reason is to remember Jerusalem. And there are many other ways. I know that there are other explanations given, but that is one major reason that's often recited. And there are other ways that people have also remembered Jerusalem as well. So we carry a lot within our souls when we think about Jerusalem. We're going to continue now, and we are going to continue with the words of General Moshe Dayan. And Errol, would you actually read, if you don't mind? And if you read Moshe Dayan, and then we're going to make a pause and you'll read both of the bottom two. And I'm sure many of you who are around definitely remember General Moshe Dayan. He carved a very charismatic figure. For sure, he was an archaeologist as well as a soldier. In any event, these are the words from 1967 of Moshe Dayan. Errol?
The IDF has liberated Jerusalem. We have reunited the torn city, the capital of Israel. We have returned to the holiest of our holy places. We shall never part from it again. And to the followers of other religions, the Christians, the Muslims, I solemnly promise that their freedom of worship and all their religious rights will be safeguarded.
Thank you. And then General Matagor, who commanded the paratroopers who entered and liberated the wall. Errol?
At first, the whole thing looked like an ordinary military operation, the sort of operation for which we had been preparing for years. But then the whole character of the thing changed, and maybe our character too. Suddenly we saw it all in a different light. We fought differently. A queer and ancient sensation enveloped us. You felt as though you're going to redeem not a place, but a history itself. We walked holding our breath. Walked? What am I talking about? We ran, and how we ran.
Thank you. Very moving words from General Gore, who led the way there. And it's actually, you can actually find online an audio of when they actually entered the city, and you can hear him in Hebrew, and you'll see some of them have a translation of his Hebrew. We've entered the old city. We've entered old city. We're going to the wall, and you can hear him. He's like in amazement and in wonder. He can't believe it. Here's a hardened general fighting a war who you would think would be very matter of fact about positioning, but he knows, as every Jew knows, that Jerusalem is something special. The old city is very special, and the wall is of such importance. We're going to continue by singing Sisu et Yerushalayim. The words are from Isaiah, from various passages, particularly in 3rd Isaiah. The music is by Akiva Nof. And please join me. It's a very well-known song. And you may also know this, if you don't know the words, you may still know the melody from if you've ever done Israeli dance. Sisu et Yerushalayim kiluva kolo haveha Sisu et Yerushalayim kiluva kolo haveha al chomotayach ir David hifkadati shomrim kol HaYam v'chol halayla al chomotayach ir David hifkadati shomrim Kol HaYam v'chol halayla Sisu et Yerushalayim kiluva kolo haveha Sisu et Yerushalayim kiluva kolo haveha al tiravi al techat avdi Yaakov ki yafutzu misanecha al tiravi al techat avdi Yaakov ki yafutzu misanecha mipanecha Sisu et Yerushalayim kiluva kolo haveha Sisu et Yerushalayim kiluva kolo haveha se'isa v'veinayech uri kulam nikpetzu va'ulach se'isa v'veinayech uri kulam nikpetzu va'ulach uva'ulach Sisu et Yerushalayim kiluva kolo haveha Sisu et Yerushalayim kiluva kolo haveha ve'amech kulam tzadikim le'olam Yeshuaretz ve'amech kulam tzadikim le'olam Yeshuaretz Sisu et Yerushalayim kiluva kolo haveha Sisu et Yerushalayim kiluva kolo haveha. Beautiful words from Isaiah. The refrain means that we should rejoice with Jerusalem, as we are doing this evening on as Yom Yerushalayim ends, and on Jerusalem Shabbat. Rejoice with her, all who love her. I've set watchers upon your walls, and they shall never hold their peace day or night. And if you know anything about Israel, their security is great. No security is totally, but I can tell you, being in Israel, I don't know that I've ever felt safer. I just have to say that. I know that there are people in other countries around Israel that would like to see her off the map. Ich bin nicht danar. I'm not completely unaware. But yet, when you're in Israel, you just feel very safe. You feel at home, but in a very, very safe home, even when you're outside, whenever you're walking around. And I would get up early and walk on Friday mornings to go buy challah as the bakery opened so I could get fresh challah. I remember walking late at night with friends. We'd go to a cafe, we'd have coffee, we'd walk around, we'd just enjoy Jerusalem. And I never ever felt safe, unsafe. I never felt unsafe. So we are going to continue. And before we do, I just actually want to take a moment. How many of you have been to Israel? And of them, very nice. A lot of people. How many of you have been to Jerusalem then? Great. So if you're watching via our live stream, I believe the chat is open. Why don't you put in the chat, what are your 2 or 3 most favorite sites or things to do in Jerusalem, and share with each other at home. And here I'm going to ask you, what is your favorite site or favorite thing to do in Jerusalem? Anybody have a thought? Anything come to mind? Brenda?
Well, of course, the wall.
The wall, yeah.
One of the key things to see. But as you mentioned about feeling safe, true, it is. I don't know why. I can't explain the feeling, but when Annie and I were there and we're sitting on the cafe, it is a place where you feel safe and at home are safe. That you're not worried about any bombs being shot. You're not worried about anybody coming out and shooting you in a supermarket or anything.
Yeah.
There's happening more and more here. It's a unbelievable feeling.
Yeah. And thank you. Yeah, you don't really feel like, even with everyday like robberies or muggings that you might have in a big city, you just don't feel like anything's going to happen. So thank you for sharing that you and Arnie had that experience of feeling safe in a cafe. Eating. Let me guess, you're Jewish. Eating in Jerusalem. Yes, there's.
Dishes that they serve to go with it. It's really, and the lavash, is it?
Lavash, yes, nice. And kebab. So thank you for you at home. Brenda was sharing about the food spreads, and Israelis are famous for their hospitality, and they're famous for making big spreads of food. Their breakfast is unbelievable, as well as any other meal. So thank you for sharing that. Yes, Errol. EL and not AL. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. I didn't hear that last. Oh, yes, thank you, yes. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But Jerusalem, I mean, we live in
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So for you at home, Errol pointed out a couple of very interesting things. One is that it really is a city that is home to and central to and important for 3 major world religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And you definitely can feel it there. There are sections that are, the Armenian Quarter has Armenian Orthodox Christians, for example, as well as the Mosque of Omar and the Dome of the Rock are very visible landmarks, etc. And of course, if you're Jewish, you know that there are many synagogues of all types from all over the world there. Errol also pointed out that you just generally feel history there, that there's so much history. And 3, he pointed out how much creativity that you see. And it's not that you just see buildings from ancient times, but they have really blended the old with the new, and there's so much art and other kinds of cultural stuff going on. They're really creative in the way they do things, so, and assemble things. So those are 3 of the points that Errol raised out of a number of them about Jerusalem specifically. So Yasher Koach. Anybody else have a favorite site in Jerusalem, or something you'd like to do, or some memory there? So for me, the wall as well. And of course, most important, being in Jerusalem with my parents of blessed memory, and davening next to my father, Shabbos services at the wall. I was welling up with tears. I was verklempt, just that I had the opportunity to do that in my lifetime. My mother was on the other side of the mechitza, but when you're davening, it's hard to really notice much. But when you're next to your father, it really was very impactful. Having brunch at the King David Hotel. It's so lovely there, and that building is so full of history. They still have the holes where the Stern Gang shot in when the British controlled it. And I have a cousin who was actually with Menachem Begin in the Stern Gang. And in fact, they had lunch every week, at least once, and my cousin there. And there's many other things that I remember. I'm sure you all have memories of things. And Jerusalem keeps growing and building, but we are going to now continue with our service. We're on page 4. And I'm going to read a verse from Psalm 122. Psalm 122 is very important to Sephardim, our Sephardic and Mizrahi sisters and brothers, who actually read it every Shabbat and holiday. It's not in our Ashkenazic prayer books, but it is in theirs. So we're going to read that because it actually talks about Jerusalem. And I'm going to read the Hebrew, and I'm going to invite you to read it, the italicized English after each line. Shir Hamalot LeDavid Samachti Ba'omrim Li Beit Adonai Nelech. Dot Hayu Raglenu Bisharayach Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim Habenuyah Ki Ir Shechubra La Yachdav. Shesham Alu Shvatim Shivteyah Edut LeYisrael Lahodot L'Shem Adonai. Kishama Yashvu Chisot LeMishpat Chisot LeVeit David. Sha'alu Shalom Yerushalayim Yishlayu O Havayach. Yishalom Bechelech Shalva Ba'armenotayach. Laman Beit Adonai Ohenu Avaksha Tov Lach. Laman Achai Vevrei Adabrana Shalom Bach. A beautiful psalm that prays for the peace of Jerusalem. And now we're going to sing Al Chomotayach. From the words are from Isaiah, and they talk about the importance of keeping watch over Jerusalem, and that how God has set watchers, but we too have set watchers over Jerusalem. The music is by Nurit Hirsch. Nurit Hirsch is one of the more famous composers of modern times and of classic Shirei Eretz Yisrael. The Lishana Haba'ah, Bashana Haba'ah was her song, her melody. She also did the Oh Says Shalom Bim Ramav. She also did that song as well. We're going to do this now, Al Chomotayach. You're welcome to join me. Al Chomotayach Yerushalayim Hivkadati Shomrim Kol HaYam V'Chol HaLayla Al Chomotayach Yerushalayim Hivkadati Shomrim Kol HaYam V'Chol HaLayla Yerushalayim Yerushalayim Yerushalayim, 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 Chomotayach, Yerushalayim, Hivkadati Shomrim Kol HaYam V'Chol HaLayla. Chomotayach, Yerushalayim, Hivkadati Shomrim Kol HaYam V'Chol HaLayla. Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim, 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 We're going to continue our tefillot by turning to page 6. And for this Ma'ariva Ravim, we're actually going to be reading one of the poems of Jerusalem that Yehuda Amichai, one of the great poets of modern times, Alav Shalom, may he rest in peace, wrote. This one is from a collection called Ecology of Jerusalem. And Phil, would you like to lead us responsively? Sure. Page 6.
Circle Zion and encompass her. Court her towers, note her strength.
Walk about her palaces so that you may tell a later generation.
The air over Jerusalem is saturated with prayers and dreams like the air over industrial cities. It's hard to breathe.
And from time to time, a new shipment of history arrives, and the houses and towers are its packing materials.
Later, these are discarded and piled up in dumps.
And sometimes candles arrive instead of people, and then it's quiet.
And sometimes people come instead of candles, and then there's noise, and an enclosed gardens heavy with jasmine, foreign consulates.
Like wicked brides that have been rejected, lie in wait for their moment. Thank you. Always interesting imagery that Amichai conjures up, but here I think he's trying to give us a sense of the ordinariness now of people in Jerusalem, but yet how special it is and how it is filled, as Errol told us, with so much history, and you can sort of sense that in the air of Jerusalem. We're going to continue by singing Jerusalem of Gold, one of the great songs, also just from it was actually written just before the Six-Day War by Naomi Shemer. It's actually based in part on a Talmudic saying and teaching. A Yerushalayim Shel Zahav was actually a type of jewelry that women wore in Talmudic times. If you could do that, and she's taken that and applied it to whole city as if the Jerusalem of gold, the jewel, is Jerusalem, and it adorns all of us, is the image that she creatively has done. Pretty amazing. She has also taken some words from Judah Halevi, from the golden age of Jewish life in Iberia, from the Middle Ages, and taken just some short sections of some of his famous poem that is actually read on Tisha B'Av, a sad fast day that grieved that we didn't have Jerusalem. And she takes the words and says, my heart will sing your songs of glory, recalling his words, and that I am a liar for your, a liar, L-Y-R-E, for your melody. In any event, a really beautiful song. It was written at just before the 6-Day War at an Israeli song festival. It was not an entrant in the film in the festival, but she decided to do it there, and the response to it was immediately a standing ovation to this song, and people were starting to sing the chorus by the final verse. And at the end, usually at the end, the winning person redoes their song. That whoever wins sings the song again that they won on, and people go home singing that. But the people demanded after that they play your Jerusalem of Gold again, and wouldn't leave until Shuli Natan, who Naomi Shemer handpicked to sing it, would come out and do a reprise of Jerusalem of Gold. And she added a verse after the 6-Day War to commemorate the fact that we now can go to the Dead Sea by way of Jericho from Jerusalem, which was not the case previously. So in any event, lots to praise in Naomi Shemer's song, and we're going to sing it this time. We're going to do the first verse in Hebrew, then we're going to go down and do a verse in English, and we'll play it from there, whether we go on to do more verses. Beautiful song. Avir harim salul kayayin v'reach oranin nisa beruach habayim im kol pa'amonim uvtar mat ilan va'even shvuya b'chalomah Ha'ir asher badad yoshevet u'li b'choma Yerushalayim shel zahav v'shel nechoshet v'shel or alo lecho shirayich ani kinor Yerushalayim shel zahav v'shel nechoshet v'shel or alo lecho shirayich ani kinor. English. The olive trees that stand in silence upon the hills of time, to hear the voices of the city as bells of evening chime, the shofar sounding from the temple to call the world to prayer. The shepherd pauses in the valley, and peace is everywhere. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, forever young, for yet forever old. My heart will sing your songs of glory. Jerusalem, 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 O city with a heart of gold. My heart will sing your songs of glory. Jerusalem. Hebrew. Uvamarot asher basela alfei shmashot zorchot v'shuv nered el yam hamelech. Oh, sure. V'derech yeri. I'm sorry. Ach bevoi hayom lashir lach v'lach likshor tarim. Katonti nitzeir banayich umeachron hamishoreri. Kishmech zorev et hasvatayim kenishikat saraf. Imeshka hech Yerushalayim asher kula zahav. Yerushalayim shel zahav v'shel nechoshet v'shel or halo lechol sherayich ani kihinor. Yerushalayim shel zahav v'shel nechoshet v'shel or halo lechol sherayich ani I get moved every time I hear that beautiful melody, classic.
I have to say, when you sing it, I get goosebumps, right? Because I remember standing up there and and this refrain, just being there. Even I was just talking about it. My ears rising up in the back of my neck.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Brenda shared.
I really explained it fully.
You did.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. For you on our live stream, Brenda just shared how she gets goosebumps when she hears Yerushalayim Shel Zahav. And I understand it. I feel the same way. There are certain things that in our Jewish tradition and heritage that we so love and we're so proud of that sometimes just a few notes of a song can get us to feel very deeply. That's a beautiful thing. We're going to continue on page 8 with Libi B'Mizrach, a poem from Judah Halevi. He was actually started a whole new genre of poetry called Shirei Eretz Yisrael, poems about the land of Israel. People really didn't do that beforehand. There are some, we read a passage from Psalms, but to have poetry, there was poetry being written, but it really was more religious poetry to God as opposed to evoking a love of Eretz Yisrael and a love of Jerusalem. Judah Halevi did that. And this is his classic poem, My Heart is in the East. In my Hebrew class when I was young, I had to memorize this poem. I don't have it memorized now, so I'm going to actually read it. Libi b'mizrach va'anochi b'sof ma'arav. Eich et hama et asher ochal, v'eich ye'arav. Eicha ashalem nidarai ve'esarai, bod Zion bechevel Edom, v'ani bechevel Arav. Yekal be'inai, azov kol tu sarad, kamo yekar be'inai, ra'ot afrot, devir necharav. Please join me. Let's read together. My heart is in the east, and I in the uttermost west. How can I find savor in food? How shall it be sweet to me? How shall I render my vows and my bonds, while yet Zion lies beneath the fetter of Edom, and I in Arab chains? A light thing would it seem to me to leave all the good things in Spain, seeing how precious in my eyes it is to behold the dust of the desolate sanctuary. What a very, very powerful thought of Yehuda Halevi. When he's in the uttermost west, this is obviously before Columbus's voyages to the New World. And so therefore Spain really was sort of the far west at that time. But when he talks about lying in Arab chains, that is metaphoric and spiritual. It is not literal, because he lived during the golden age of Jewish life in Spain, perhaps the greatest era for Jewish life and creativity until perhaps today. The caliphate in Iberia broke off from the caliphate of Baghdad, and they had in Iberia what was called the convivencia, which means a living together. And so while Jews were not quite legally equal to Muslims in Islamic Spain, the Jews of Europe fled there. And at that time, virtually 80% or more of the Jews lived in Iberia because they essentially treated Jews with tolerance and respect. They went to garden parties together. They drank wine together. They did poetry together. They did philosophy together. They did astronomy together, etc., etc. There was a healthy respect and a mutual camaraderie. Our mysticism developed in part or was added to because of Sufism and vice versa. Maimonides was in touch with the philosophic giants of Islam and vice versa. So when he says here that he would rather give up all the good things in Spain, he really had it good in Spain. And he said what would mean more to him was just to see the dust where the temple once stood. That's pretty amazing. He'd give it all up. And you know something? He did. He actually gave up and went to Israel. We don't know for sure if he actually made it. We do know he made it as far as Cairo, where his ship was wrecked. And then they wanted him to stay and become the leader of the Fostat community there in Cairo. And he stayed there for a while, and he recovered from the voyages that he had. He tried, and we know he went on another ship to try to make it to Israel. We know that was shipwrecked. So we're not sure if he made it or not. Legend says he does, and that as he beheld the dust, he was killed by someone robbing him. He was mugged. Who knows if he made it or not. We're going to continue our Tefillot on page 9, and we're going to continue with a poem from B. Statler, As the Mountains Are About Jerusalem. And Ruthie, would you like to lead us responsively on page 9?
Would be at the back, at the bottom, Rabbi?
At the top is the mountains are about Jerusalem.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
As the mountains are about Jerusalem, so shall God's love be around the people Israel.
I stand in the midst of these mountains and I tremble.
For some psalmist or troubadour or sage or warrior stood thus thousands of years ago and prayed.
God, as the mountains are around Jerusalem, please let your love be around your people, Israel.
But the mountains envelop Jerusalem. They are warm and loving,
and passionate and beautiful and barren and green and rocky and smooth.
They are decorated with houses and museums, memorials and memories,
libraries and universities and hospitals and people.
God, let your love be around your people as the mountains are about Jerusalem.
Amen. Yasher Koach, thank you so much. And how beautiful. And of course, it is true that there's universities, Hebrew University located in Jerusalem, and 2 different campuses. Their main campus, but also in Mount Scopus. And also in Mount Scopus, many of you maybe were at the Hadassah Hospital, where you would see the Chagall windows are there, the beautiful renderings of the 12 tribes. Many other things that we could say, but we are going to turn to page 10, and we're going to sing the song Jerusalem is Mine. I am the sun, Jerusalem. You are a painted sky. I am a bird, Jerusalem. You have the wings to fly. You are the father of my dream. I am the gift of time. I am your child, Jerusalem. Jerusalem is mine. You are the orchard in the sand. I am the fruit you bear. You are the glove that warms my hand. I am the smile you wear. You are the music of the hills. I am the words that rhyme. I am your song, Jerusalem. Jerusalem is mine. You are the cradle of freedom. I am the harvest of springtime. I am the dawn of a new day. I am tomorrow. You are forever. You are my shelter from the storm. I am your guiding light. You are a book whose leaves are torn. I am the peace you write. You are the branches of a tree. I am a clinging vine. I am a prayer, Jerusalem. Jerusalem is mine. I have come home, Jerusalem. Jerusalem is mine. We're going to continue, and we are on page 10. And we're just going to read this passage from the Zohar together, which also has something to say about Jerusalem. So please join me. The Holy One, blessed be God, made Israel the heart of the whole world, and the relationship of Israel to the other parts of the body. And just as the other parts of the body have no existence, even for a moment, without the heart, so it is that none of the other peoples can exist in the world without Israel. Jerusalem, too, has the same relationship with the other countries, being as the heart to the parts of the body, which is why it is in the center of the whole world, just as the heart is in the center of the limbs. Very, very interesting passage by the Zohar. And it's interesting because medieval maps, all of the world, mostly by Christian cartographers, actually picture Jerusalem as the literal center of the world. I don't think that Christian cartographers studied the Zohar. I'm not suggesting that they were into Jewish Kabbalah, but they did also have a thought in Christianity, and it was the nature of geography that they actually believed Jerusalem was somehow the center of the universe. It is also interesting that Israel's relationship, our relationship to Israel is that we can't have a Jewish state any longer without Jerusalem, and we can't have a diaspora without Israel. It is our heart, right? And also the idea of the relationship to other countries with Jerusalem being the heart, alavai. But it suggests that all countries can be in relationship. That is a good one. It isn't today, not, again, ich bin nicht dinar, but the hope is that Jerusalem, which means city of peace, Yerushalayim in Hebrew, can one day live that out and bring a peace to the people in the area and to the world. We're going to continue with another passage. And Brenda, would you like to lead us on page 11 responsively?
Once I sat on the steps by a gate at David's Tower. I placed my 2 heavy baskets at my side. A group of tourists was standing around their guide, and I became their target marker.
You see that man with baskets? Just right of his head, there's an arch from the Roman period, just right of his head. But he's moving, he's moving.
I said to myself, redemption will come only if their guide tells them. You see that arch from the Roman period? It's not important, but next to it, and left and down a bit, there sits a man who brought fruit and vegetables for his family.
Thanks. Stop for a second, but stay there. That poem from Yehuda Amichai is part of a larger work, and his point is so beautiful that while sometimes we want to see the archaeological digs and see the history, what's really has been the beginning of redemption, Reshit Smichat Gulatenu, with the beginning of Israel, is that people are there again, and people are living lives, and they're buying fruit in the market, and they're telling jokes, and they're singing and dancing and shopping and studying and conducting business. And what a meaningful thing that is, that it's happening in Jerusalem. We're going to continue with Aharon Becher's poem, The Possibility, and which is a poem for the hope of peace. And Brenda, will you continue?
A little lane in the market on the way to the wall.
A Muslim Hajj in silk tarbush and long robe walked slowly, leaning on a stick.
2 monks pass, lost in conversation.
3 yeshiva students hurried footsteps.
Robe touches robe, words mingle.
The eyes of the walls which surround them watch. The great risk is measured, the unity possible between opposites, and the possibility.
Passing each other, one next to the other, here a possibility exists.
They are the possibility. To some degree, that's happening because while there seems to be stagnation in trying to get parties to the table, and of course, it's hard to have a conversation without a conversation partner. There's a group called Roots, which consists of the ultra-Orthodox settlers in the West Bank, and Palestinians living in the West Bank as well, who have come together and started a group called Shorashim, Roots, where the sides are talking to each other. Neither side is necessarily giving up anything right now. They're just talking and dialoguing. They're getting to know each other's hopes and dreams, why Judaism feels that Israel is important to them, and why to the Palestinians they feel that the land of Israel is important to them. And they're actually starting to figure out ways to live together in peace, the possibility that Aharon Becher is. And they're talking about figuring out ways to sort of bypass official channels so that they can actually live together in peace in the West Bank area. I've actually had them come and dialogue in front of my students when I was at Day Toledo High School and in front of the community. I had invited them. Perhaps one day we'll get to meet them here. We're going to continue meanwhile with a song from, that I think the music is by Yehoram Gaon, one of the great Sephardic singers of Israel, but the words are definitely by Avigdor HaMeiri, and the poem is called Jerusalem. And let's first do it in English, and I'll be doing a sentence, and then you'll do the italicized sentence after me. From the peak of Mount Scopus, I greet you, Jerusalem. For 100 generations, I have dreamt of you. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, light up your face for me. From the peak of Mount Scopus, I greet you, Jerusalem. May you be blessed with thousands of blessings. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, I will not move from here. So with that poem in English, let's do it in Hebrew. Me'al piskat har hatzofim eshtachavelach alpaim. Me'al piskat har hatzofim shalom lach Yerushalayim. Me'adorot halamti alayich lizkot lirot bior panayich. Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim. Ha'iri panayich evnech, Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim. Mechor votayich evnech, me'al piskat har hatzofim shalom lach Yerushalayim. Alfei golim mitzot kol tevel nosim elayich einayim. Bi'alfei vrachot hayiverucha mikdash melech ir milucha. Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim. Ani lo azuz mipo, Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim. Yavo HaMashiach, Yavo. That's a song that always gets me verklempt as well. Very classic song. We're going to continue on page 13. And Mark, would you like to lead us responsibly?
As a mother comforts her children, so I myself comfort you, declares the Eternal.
And you will find peace in Jerusalem.
Past troubles will be forgotten, hidden from sight. Jerusalem will be a delight, her people a joy.
And you will find peace in Jerusalem.
None shall hurt or destroy in all my holy mountain, declared the Creator, whose throne is heaven.
Declares the Eternal, who all seeks peace in Jerusalem.
Each month at the new moon, each week on Shabbat, all people, all my children shall worship me.
Declares the Eternal, who will also find peace and consolation in Jerusalem.
Guard us always and everywhere. Bless us with life and peace. Praise to you, O God of peace, whose love is always with us, who shelters the people Israel and protects Jerusalem in love.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Yasher Koach. And we're going to continue. Guard us always and everywhere, page 13. Guard us always and everywhere. Bless us with life and peace. Praise to you, O God of peace, whose love is always with us, who shelters the people Israel and protects Jerusalem in love. Ufros Aleinu Sukkot, Sukkot, Shalom Echad. Yadadadai, yadadadai, yadadadadadadadadadadai, yadadadai, yadadadai, yadadadadadadadadadadai. Ufros Aleinu Sukkot, Sukkot, Shalom Echad. Guide us always and everywhere. Bless us with life and peace. We continue our tefillot by turning to page 14, and we're going to read responsively, and I'll be leading on sanctifying this particular day. The late afternoon sun cast its glint over the stones of Jerusalem. The city of peace has become golden once more. Jerusalem, sacred to three faiths, but utterly unique to us, to the Jewish people. Here, Solomon built a temple to God. Here, Babylonians, Greeks, Romans, Persians, Byzantines, Muslims, Crusaders, Ottomans, and British all triumphed. Wherever we went, Jerusalem followed us. Our synagogues faced Jerusalem. Under the wedding canopy, we remembered Jerusalem. But in June 1967, on the 20th day of ER 5737, divided Jerusalem became one again. As the barbed wire and barriers disappeared, wholeness returned to Jerusalem. This year, as we mark Yom Yerushalayim, we celebrate the ongoing renewal and vitality of Jerusalem. As friends of Jerusalem, we recommit ourselves to work for its progress and well-being. At the Kotel, it is getting darker. The shadows lengthen and the colors deepen. Our tradition put it well. There is no beauty like the beauty of Jerusalem. Baruch, please join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. We praise you, Adonai, our God, maintainer of the universe, for keeping us alive, sustaining us, and enabling us to reach this special time in the life of our people. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. And we're going to continue with Lach Yerushalayim, another famous song written in the wake of the 6-day war. So at the time that Yom Yerushalayim became a reality, on page 16, please join me. Who knows which verses we'll be doing, but we'll be doing some Hebrew, some English. Lach Yerushalayim ben chomot ha'ir. Lach Yerushalayim or Hadash Yair. Billy Beinu, Rak Shir Echad Kayam, Lach Yerushalayim, Bein Yarden Vayam. Billy Beinu, Rak Shir Echad Kayam, Lach Yerushalayim, Bein Yarden Vayam. Lach Yerushalayim, Nov Tumim Vahod. Lach Yerushalayim, Lach Yerim Vasod. Billy Beinu, Rak Shir Echad Kayam, Lach Yerushalayim, Bein Yarden Vayam. Billy Beinu, Rak Shir Echad Kayam, Lach Yerushalayim, Bein Yarden Vayam. For you. Second English verse. For you, Jerusalem, height of our people's glory. For you, Jerusalem, a mystical history. Billy Beinu, Rak Shir Echad Kayam, Lach Yerushalayim, Bein Yarden Vayam. Billy Beinu, Rak Shir Echad Kayam, Lach Yerushalayim, Bein Yarden Vayam. For you, Jerusalem, will always carry your song. For you, Jerusalem, may peace not be long. For Billy Beinu, Rak Shir Echad Kayam, Lach Yerushalayim, Bein Yarden Vayam. Billy Beinu, Rak Shir Echad Kayam, Lach Yerushalayim, Bein Yarden Vayam. Bein Yarden Vayam. Bein Yarden Vayam. I believe that Eli Rubenstein, who wrote the music, was an American who went to help fight in the 6-Day War and wrote that music afterwards. Amos Edinger is a very, very famous lyricist and poet. We're going to continue, and now we're going to be reading the words of Abraham Joshua Heschel. And we're on page 17. Page 17. Responsively. Jerusalem is a witness, an echo of eternity. Jerusalem is waiting for the prologue of redemption. Jerusalem inspires prayer, an end to rage and violence. The stones of Jerusalem heard the promise of Isaiah. For instruction comes from Zion, the word of Adonai from Jerusalem. Jerusalem is the promise of peace in God's presence. The word of Adonai from Jerusalem declares. Nation shall not lift sword against nation, nor shall they experience war anymore. May we witness the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love her prosper. Amen. Vihuda, please join me. Vihuda le'olam teshev. Vihuda le'olam teshev. Yerushalayim ledor vador. Yerushalayim ledor vador. Yehuda le'olam teshev. Yehuda le'olam teshev. Yerushalayim ledor vador. Yerushalayim ledor vador. Yerushalayim ledor vador. Yerushalayim ledor vador. Beautiful traditional song and melody based on a passage from the biblical book of Joel, which says that Jerusalem shall remain forever. We're going to take a pause. We're going to remember those members of our own HaYam family whose memories will be evoked as their yard sites are commemorated. They include William Halpern, father of Kenny Halpern, Emma Volodarsky, mother of Marina Skorotovsky, Aaron Resnick, father of Mort Resnick and father-in-law of Roz Resnick and Ruth Resnick. In addition, tonight we'll also be thinking of all those martyrs of our people, and especially those who braved all kinds of conditions to be chalutzim, to be pioneers throughout the 19th and 20th centuries, and those who continue to defend Jerusalem and Israel today, and those who've been martyred through terrorism. All of those will be in our thoughts on Yom Yerushalayim. Anyone in mourning, anyone observing a yard site, anyone with a need or desire to recite Kaddish, please rise if you can do so comfortably, and join me as we recite together Kaddish Tom, Mourner's Kaddish. Yet Gadal v'yet Kadash Shemei Rabbah Be'alma Divara Hirute V'yamlich Malchute B'chaye Chon U'v'yomei Chon U'v'chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael Ba'agalau V'zaman Kariv V'yamru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mivorach Le'alam Ol Alamei Alamaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata da'amiran v'alma v'amru amen. Yehi shalama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the ultimate source of peace and comfort grant peace to those who mourn and comfort all the bereaved among us, and let us all say amen. We're going to continue now by turning to page 18, and we're going to sing the national anthem of Israel and our people, Hatikva. If you can do so comfortably, please rise. There is a flag on the bima to my left of the ark. Yonam Chofshi B'Artzeinu Eretz Zion Yerushalayim Yonam Chofshi B'Artzeinu Eretz Zion Yerushalayim. We're going to conclude the formal part of our service, Lishana. Please join me. Lishana Haba'a, Lishana Haba'a, Lishana Haba'a, B'Yerushalayim. Lishana Haba'a, Lishana Haba'a, Lishana Haba'a, B'Yerushalayim. Lishana Haba'a. Lishana Haba'a B'Yerushalayim. Lishana Haba'a. Lishana Haba'a B'Yerushalayim. 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 Hallelujah. Lishana Haba'a B'Yerushalayim. Lishana Haba'a B'Yerushalayim. Lishana Haba'a B'Yerushalayim. Lishana Haba'a B'Yerushalayim. Hallelujah. Chag Sameach, everyone. That concludes our celebration and service in honor of Jerusalem and Yom Yerushalayim. And we hope that you found something to smile at, to celebrate at, to pray for, and to think about and to hold. I hope that you all who have been to Israel and been to Jerusalem have memories that you hold very, very dear. And I hope that those of you who have not yet been to Israel get that opportunity to be there and feel for yourself what it is to be in Jerusalem. It's very special. Some brief announcements for this week. Our celebration of Jerusalem continues tomorrow morning. We have our regular Shabbat services, but we'll be incorporating some music and some poetry and some readings for Jerusalem into that service. And then next week is Shavuot. Perhaps theologically, one of our most important, maybe the most important holidays, you could argue. Shavuot is traditionally the holiday that we receive the Torah on Mount Sinai. And of course, without a Torah, we don't have holidays, we don't have much of anything. So one could argue that Shavuot is very important. We'll be celebrating not in the evening, but in both Friday morning and then Saturday, Shabbat morning. On Friday morning, we'll have very abbreviated services, an abbreviated Shacharit, and an abbreviated Torah reading where we'll be reading the 10 Commandments. But we'll be having two study sessions, one from Mayan and one from myself, because study is traditionally done in Shavuot. It is traditionally done all night, actually, all night long through to sunrise, and then you hold sunrise services. We are not doing that. I cannot stay up all night anymore. I am definitely over 29. But we will honor the tradition by having some study on that day. Saturday will also be a holiday service, but it'll include Yizkor, where we will call our loved ones. That would be the 26th Friday and the 27th. On the 26th, we'll also be having a very special holiday luncheon. We have some great meal planned with some stuff from Aaron's from the mother country, that is Brooklyn, and as well as some other goodies that we are preparing for you. Come and enjoy. As you may know, the tradition on Shavuot is to have milchiks. Apparently, our tradition realizes it's hard to have a Mount Sinai experience unless you also have cheesecake. Just saying. Just saying. Okay, this Sunday, there via Zoom, there is our ritual and board meetings. Ritual at 9:45. We're starting a bit early because there's a lot on the agenda, and 11 o'clock, the regular time for board meeting. If you are a member and want to come, your input is always welcome. We'll be happy after Shabbos is over to forward you the link. You're welcome to attend. Of course, for any specific business items, only members of each body can vote on specific items. Classes. Our student Rabbi Mayan will be continuing his class on snapshots in Jewish history this coming Tuesday, May 23rd at 7 p.m. My class on Rabbi Heschel and Fran's class on Midot, character strengths, will resume in June. Obviously, we can't have anything on Thursday night due to the Shavuot holiday. We have completed our year-long exploration with the Significant Jewish Book Club, but Fran is already starting to think about which books we'll be doing next year. We really don't make that available till high holidays or just before high holidays, and the new year won't begin till after the high holidays, so you're not going to miss anything. And I believe that that's all that I have for you right now. Please check our website, www.congregationamhayam.com, to get all the latest on events, classes, services, and more. We are going to conclude with by repeating Sisu et Yerushalayim, which you can find in your handout. Once again, just because I wanted something joyful, page 3 of your handout, Sisu et Yerushalayim. Let me see if I can raise it. Let's raise it a little. Sisu et Yerushalayim Kiluva kolo haveha Sisu et Yerushalayim Kiluva kolo haveha Al chomotaya hir Davidiv karati shomrim Kol HaYam v'chol halayla Al chomotaya hir Davidiv karati shomrim Kol HaYam v'chol halayla Kol halayla Sisu et Yerushalayim Kiluva kolo haveha Sisu et Yerushalayim Kiluva kolo haveha. One more verse. V'alte Rabbi alte chadav Yaakov Ki yafutzu b'sanecha Alti Rabbi alte chadav Yaakov Ki yafutzu b'sanecha Mipanecha Sisu et Yerushalayim Kiluva kolo haveha Sisu et Yerushalayim Kiluva kolo haveha. Shabbat shalom, everyone, and Chag Sameach. Please join us if you're at home tomorrow for services at 10. Those of you here, I'll look forward to seeing you at our tables for our Oneg Shabbat.